Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Sweet House. I am sitting here with Dwayne, who is currently on the road with the Temptations Broadway show, Ain't Too Proud to Beg. And he's performed with Mariah Carey, India Arie, Keith Urban, and so many other people. Your accolades are endless, and I am just so grateful. So I'm going to give you your flowers today. I'm very grateful that you took the time out while you're on the road. He's got 2 shows today. And then he's got like a year's worth of touring to get to. So we're going to get straight to it.
Thank you. Before you start, though, I have to say thank you. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for this opportunity. And honestly, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful. We were chatting a little bit before we started the interview. But just thinking about having this incredible moment to talk about my journey and just to think about everything that I've gone through and am going through to be where I am today is just an incredible experience. So thank you for giving me yet another opportunity to share my story. Of course.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming because I think so many people need this inspiration, and I don't care what field you're in, you just need to see and know what's possible.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So when I saw the show on Tuesday night, I was like, I am going to reach out to him. I'm pretty sure they're hopping back on a plane in a couple days, but he has to come on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So let's start with being back in Nashville because you went to school at Fisk.
I did.
And you're originally from Atlanta. So we're just going to draw a little map for a second.
Okay.
From Atlanta.
ATL.
Yes. Came to school in Nashville.
Yes.
So coming from what everybody says is like the music mecca for Black people, Atlanta, what made you want to come to Nashville?
So I like to say that the city of Nashville and Fisk University, where I studied, Fisk chose me. I did not choose Fisk. We talked about it a little bit ago. I'm a first generation college graduate. I'm the first in my family to, be in this incredible experience. And that was a lot of it. I was a high school senior at the time that I made the decision to submit and apply for Fisk University. I will never forget her. Her name is Denisha Williams. She was a recruiter at Fisk University at the time. And she saw me at Central Gwinnett High School in Atlanta. And she was like, have you heard about Fisk University? Have you heard about the Jubilee Singers? Yeah. I told her how interested in music I was. And she was like, well, Nashville is the music city. So you need to be in Nashville.
I was just going to say that.
And so, for me at the time, because college wasn't something that I grew up around, I just thought it was just another, college recruiter trying to sell me on Fisk University and Nashville. So I didn't think too much about it, but just getting that extra push and really trusting the process. And she went to my counselor and got all of my transcripts, and she helped me with the process. And it was a surreal experience to leave the nest for the first time, leave home, leave my family, and be and I'm the oldest of 7, and just to be in a new environment, a new experience, and pursuing what I love to do, which is music and performance, and it's changed my life. It's changed my life, truly. So grateful to be here.
You are changing everybody's lives as you're on the road from city to city. I think that's a super cool story because it's something that is still happening for Black people that a lot of us are first generation college students. Yeah. My mom went to college, so I'm not a first generation college student, but I know plenty of other people who are also first generation college students. But then you stepped into your calling of acting and modeling and theater, and you're doing all these things. So was this something that you were always passionate about since you were younger?
I broke all of my mom's furniture flipping and doing all of the crazy stuff.
Oh my God.
Dancing in the living room, watching Michael Jackson on the TV, Usher, all of these groups and performers, just being inspired. And
who's your favorite artist?
To be honest, I will have to say I grew up a lot really mimicking Usher.
Yeah.
And I guess essentially you can say Michael Jackson because that is also a person that Usher looked up to. So
absolutely. Protege, I get
it's a lineage, I would say. Michael Jackson, Usher, these individuals really inspired me with the way that they performed live. I thought was very spectacular. Because it wasn't just the storytelling through song, but it was it was a moment. It was an experience. And I remember, you know, watching like the BET Awards and all of these other award shows and seeing these people perform live. And you're like, what would it have been like to be in that audience to get that first
Well, now you're there.
And you know, now I get the opportunity to do it. So
I mean, before we started this, you talked about how full circle it is for you to be at TPAC, which is the Tennessee Performing Arts Center, you guys. And just talk to us a little bit about what that feels like to be back on the stage there.
Yeah, it's a full circle moment. And the one word that I can say about my entire experience so far and will continue to say is I'm grateful. Gratitude is the attitude, and it is going to continue to be my attitude, because you're talking about a little boy who grew up in Atlanta who only dreamed about these things, and now I get to make them a reality. And really living in this moment I'm grateful. I'm just truly grateful to God.
Are there any moments that you ever doubted yourself? You have such a beautiful spirit, and it is such an awesome thing to like set your foundation of gratitude in life, because it sets your mood and your tone for all the things that you do. Like from the moment you came in here today, I can just feel it. You vibrate gratitude.
Thank you. So, I try to, and it hasn't always been that. I'm gonna be real with
practice.
You. It's a practice, and it's a life lesson, I would say. I think there were many situations that I was put in as a young adult, as a you know, a child, that really forced me to be grateful for the things that I have. Not growing up coming from a family of money, you grow up with a sense of gratitude for even being able to, you know, have food on the plate the next day. So, you know, it can be even something, you know, that small, but just always having a sense of gratitude, and, you know, leading to this full circle moment at TPAC, that's another sense of gratitude. And I had to personally thank TPAC for the work that they do, because when I was a student at Fisk University, I had never experienced a Broadway show before. And at the time,
Nashville, Tennessee.
In Nashville, Tennessee, and you know, at the time they were providing students with tickets to see a performance of Wicked on tour, and you know, it was at the TPAC, and I was sitting way up there in the balcony, just looking at all the actors, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like they get to do this every day, and to now have this full circle moment to be on the stage, hopefully inspiring somebody who was sitting in the same seat that I was in about, you know, 7 years ago. It's just another moment to say I'm grateful.
Well, I think it's really cool that you painted that picture for us, because you also got to meet Otis. Here in Nashville.
Oh my gosh.
And you guys, Otis is one of the founding members of the Temptations, and he's now in his 80s. And the other night when I went to go see the show, he comes out at the end and the whole audience just went crazy. What was that like to meet somebody who's like the reason for this show even being on the road? I mean, 80 years later, I wonder what he thinks to himself. I wonder if he ever thought that it was going to look like this for him. So what was that like?
You know what? He took time out of his schedule to come meet with the cast. And for me, it's already a surreal experience to have someone that the story is about to be in the audience and to perform, you know, their story in front of them. But to have them take time to really talk about their experience firsthand, and, you know, in a personal setting like this. You know, he sat us down before the show and he was like, if you guys have any questions about anything, now's the time. Let's talk. I just really wanted to take time to thank you guys for the work that you do, and continuing to tell this story. And honestly, the gratitude is on both ends, because what a joy it is to be able to have this opportunity. But to be able to talk to a living legend who is with us on this earth, still doing the thing, still touring, still, you know, creating a path for so many Black and brown artists in music, in now theater. And, you know, it's just, it's crazy. And to hear his experience and hear him say that, you know, as a young person, you couldn't even, one of the things that he said, I'm going to try to get it right, so don't hate me, Uncle O, if you see this. He said
you're calling him Uncle O.
Uncle O, that's what we call him on tour. He said you could have tipped him over with a feather if you would have told him that he would have had a show on Broadway, and that's touring right now about the Temptations. And, you know, that's a moment that I'm feeling right now. You could have, although this was always a dream of mine and is always a dream of mine to be performing on this caliber.
To see it actually manifested is a whole nother level.
It's crazy. It really is crazy. So it's an incredible journey to have a living legend like that. And that's actually my third time seeing him. I joined the tour when it was in Detroit, which was crazy because that's home
that is
of
home for
Motown and the Temptations and so many artists. But it never gets old. Every time I have the opportunity to see him, I'm starstruck. And I'm like, this is Dr. Otis Williams.
Yes.
Like, I'm
he's
grateful.
the king.
Yeah.
I mean, the music is so timeless that like generations are still listening to it. The other night when he said he came to Nashville in the 60s for the first time to perform, and then here he is having his full circle moment. Yeah. But then here's somebody like you who's young in your career, but you're also like a veteran as far as like the amount of work that you've been able to
far.
The amount of accolades and things you've been able to accomplish. Like you're having your full circle moment and you're not near 80 yet. So just think about like when you're 80. Yeah. And I want to give that perspective to all of you guys that are watching and listening, like how important it is to like really break all your mom's furniture and like
love you, Ma.
And get into like who you really are. So we talked a little bit about like you finally coming into your own before this. Like talk to us about what that looked like for you, because it is not easy, especially to go a creative path. To like really come into your own and trust yourself and believe in yourself. Like the whole statement that you just made, you could have tipped him over with a feather. Like, there's a lot of self-doubt there. And then here you are 80s and you're just now being like, oh wow, look what I was capable of.
I definitely will say, like, growing up in a full house, having so many siblings, growing up in a single mother household, there was a lot of learning and unlearning as you have to do in most families. There's it's a journey. And I think,
can we underline unlearning?
I mean, you know, as a people, we have taught our children what we were taught, and you know that has been, you know,
passed down
from generation to generation. And a lot of it has to do with being able to exist as a Black person in this world. And there were so many things so many tools that my mother instilled in me and that I'm grateful for. And so many things that I've learned along the way that I've had to say, okay, maybe there's a different way to approach this moment, or maybe it is time to, you know, say how I'm feeling in this environment, even though I was taught to, you know, just be
suppress
calm, collected,
yourself.
and don't express how you feel in certain, you know, environments. But there's a lot of learning and unlearning. But all of it comes from a good heart, and I'm grateful for that experience and grateful for my mom, because I wouldn't be here without her.
Absolutely.
And with that being said, there's a lot of just I use this word again. Here we go again. Gratitude with the way I was raised, because it's taught me there's a certain hunger that I have to be better and to want more for myself and my family. And that's just kind of led me to where I am right now. And I think it wasn't always a moment of, oh my gosh, waking up, I'm ready. It's giving SpongeBob, I'm ready. Right. Let's do it. There were moments where I'm just like,
I don't know if I'm going to be on that stage.
I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know who I am in this moment. I don't know what my platform is. I know what I want to do. I know what I'm trying to say.
You know what you're capable of, but you're not quite sure if it's actually going to happen. You don't know what the end product is.
That's so true. And you know, I'm not going to be the first to paint, you know, a painting of roses to say that I had it all figured out. And I'm still figuring it out. But the more that I learn is that, you know, the more that I can continue to tell my story authentically and have opportunities like this one. So thank you again. It's another experience to enlighten someone and myself, as I hear myself speak, to trust your journey, trust your process. You end up exactly where you're supposed to be, and it happens exactly when it's supposed to. So
timing is everything. And I definitely think you're spot on when you say to actually hear yourself, because I think you hear yourself inside your mind, but to actually say it out loud and to prove to yourself that you are capable of these things is just a wonder in and of itself.
Absolutely.
So there's a point point in Ain't Too Proud to Beg, which is the Temptations Broadway show, where they do touch on, like, they weren't just able to be musicians. They also had to be activists because they were trying to exist as Black people, Black artists doing their careers on the road. Yeah. So I even thought that was interesting because they touch on a side that's not musical and rosy. They touch on a side where they had to, like, show up for everybody.
Yeah. Oh,
and when
absolutely.
I hear you talk about, like, being the oldest in your family, the first to go to college, there's so many, like, linear things. So I just feel like timing was everything for you too. Yeah. Because it all matches up. Yeah. And it's really cool to see it that way for you.
It's definitely a moment where you have to, like, reflect and say, and I think that's what's so cool about being an artist, an actor. You get to try on these different, perspectives and outlooks on life, and you get to kind of compare how they relate to your own story. And and I think that's what's so special about, being able to be on this stage and step into the shoes of Dennis Edwards is, we get to. In doing my homework for the role, I found out that we share some of the same, ways that we grew up, even though it was in a different time. Yeah. I'm grateful because I get to bring a lot of my experiences to some of the experience that Dennis Edwards had when he was, being a part of this group or growing up as a pastor's kid, and just being raised in the church and just, just trying to find the voice and and bring it authentically. Yeah.
Well, you really do bring it to life. So you have to tell us what a day in the life actually looks like for you.
Well,
I know there's usually 2 shows. Well, Sundays there's 2 shows, but I'm not sure other days. Are there 2 shows on each day of the tour, or what does that look like?
We usually have 2 shows on Saturdays and 2 shows on Sundays, and we call that a 5-show weekend starting on Friday. So leading into the weekend, you have a Friday night show, you have a Saturday matinee, Saturday night, Sunday matinee, Sunday night, and then you have the day off on Monday. Yeah. And then you start right back over on Tuesday, and it's another another week, another opportunity to share the story with people who may not even know who the Temptations are, but have heard their music. Yes. So that's it's always a great, and I'm not gonna lie, with everything, this show takes so much out of us because it's very important for us to be able to give 100% to tell the story of real people who walk this earth.
Real people, That's what I was
so you have to give your all. You have to give your all.
Yeah, and it's such a rich story of legacy, and obviously you guys are working very hard, and so that's the thing too. I don't want people to look at your career journey as like it has peaked because you're on the stage. Yeah. Because even when you're still working. He's doing 5 shows in a weekend, and they're hours long, and you're having to like meet and greet and all these things and still take care of yourself. So you're still working, but and you just added a whole nother layer on it that these are real people that you're playing. Yeah. They're not they're not made up characters. This is not a novel. It's real life.
It's a responsibility, to share the authenticity. And I think that's what's so special about Ain't Too Proud. And I'm so incredibly grateful for all of the creatives and everyone who has had any part in allowing me to be a part of this journey because, I don't take it lightly. These are real people, like I said before, who have walked this earth, who were activists and are activists. Yeah. Of course, we have Dr. Otis Williams, who is still with us, a living legend who is continuing to do the work. So, like you're saying, there's never a point where you have reached this momentous occasion. Like there's always work that needs to be done to continue to pave the way for those coming behind us. And I'm grateful to have that legacy now on my shoulders and share that with my castmates and the entire team to continue to share this story.
For sure. Yeah. And speaking of legacy, you're a vocalist on the 2020 Grammy Award Winning Album celebrating Fisk 150th anniversary. Yeah. So how does that feel to know that you were a part of this historical moment? The Fisk Jubilee Singers obviously are the reason why Nashville is known as Music City.
Yes, come on, Black History.
That is
we
the
love
Black
it.
History
Black
fact.
History.
Yes. But now you are such a huge part of their story too. So I foresee, and I'm just manifesting this for you, I foresee a Broadway show and a movie and an autobiography.
From your mouth to God's ears, I manifest
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
But how does that feel to be a part of such a rich legacy?
You know, when you're in it as a student, as a Fisk University student, when you're in it, you're lost in the sauce, I would say. It's easy to just be like, okay, I have rehearsal. I need to learn this music. I need to make sure I tell this story through the Negro spiritual. When we get the opportunity to perform for, many different people in many different places around the world. And I do mean around the world. I didn't travel for the first time overseas until I joined the Fisk Jubilee Singers.
Wow.
And it wasn't until that moment that really opened my eyes to so many possibilities. Like when I thought that only going to, being a first generation college student, when I thought that was, what would open my eyes, I was able to become a Fisk Jubilee Singer, and my mind was blown even more. Yeah. And the more that I get to do, my mind is blown even more. And I'm like, wow, there's never a moment where I'm not like
relishing in it.
Wow. And that was another moment, just like Ain't Too Proud. That was another moment that I got to say, I am a part of something that is so much bigger than me, that is so much bigger than this moment right now, that has been, started way before, people started to, I like to say, and I hope anyone, doesn't take offense to this, way before people started to become hip on the Fisk Jubilee Singers. They have been out here, continuing the legacy of the original
Music
group.
City is Music City for other reasons.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm grateful that we can come to, a beautiful city like Nashville and celebrate what music means. And with that being said, you're absolutely right. We can't forget the origins and the history and the legacies that were laid before us to be able to be where we are right now. And a lot of that is rooted in Black history and the Fisk Jubilee Singers, and being able to just be a part of that legacy. And so when we had the opportunity to record this album, it was a surreal experience. I mean, the artists that we got to collaborate with, the artists that we got to perform with in that moment and learn from, and not just the vocalists but the musicians. Another household name here in Nashville, Shannon Sanders, being able to work with Shannon and just watch the mind. When I tell you Shannon Sanders' mind is impeccable, watching that man think is like, whoa. And so just to be a part of this entire legacy, Dr. Paul T. Kwame, who is no longer with us, but who made it, much of his life's work to continue this legacy of the Fisk Jubilee Singers and to continue to pave the way for people like me, and took me under his wing when I got to Fisk University. Yeah. I'm grateful. And things like winning a Grammy Award is even more of a full circle moment than just being a part of the group. That's just another icing on the top.
It's so just indicative of all your hard work and your passion more than anything, because I think we're also in this world of hustle culture.
Oh, absolutely.
So aside from hustle culture, honing true talent and like committing to that talent is how you get a Grammy. That's how you get on the stage at TPAC. It's not just like because you got out here and worked all night and didn't sleep for 3 days and drank 5 espressos. It's because you actually like committed to something. So I think that's awesome. And I also want to talk about the fact that you went and got a Master's of Fine Arts in Musical Theater from Boston Conservatory at Berkeley.
I did.
So my question for you is, you did all this work in undergrad at Fisk, and then you went on to get a master's in the same kind of creative lane. What inspired you to do that? And is education important to somebody who's wanting to be in theater?
I will say I like to call myself an artist and activist. I'm a huge advocate for creating opportunities and providing opportunities and bridging that gap of opportunity between young Black and brown artists and places like now, where I'm performing, the TPAC. Just to have that. And it wasn't until someone gave me that opportunity that I really had the chance to see how my life is coming full circle, and to continue to do the groundwork to create that, way and moment for other people coming behind me. We talked a little bit about my brother, who is now also a college graduate. He went to Tennessee State University, also an HBCU here in Nashville, Tennessee. But to just continue to be a part of something that is bigger than me and try to do my part in paving a way for people, coming behind myself. That's a huge part of my artistry. And
it seems like it's been like a launching pad, like a good foundation for you to have these networks at Fisk, and then also in your master's program, and then you're able to use those skills to then go teach students.
Absolutely.
And just give people like somewhere to come.
Yeah.
And like you keep mentioning TPAC.
Yeah.
And I have to say TPAC is an incredible resource too. I actually took my 16-month-old to her first play at TPAC last month. She lasted 45 minutes.
That's long though. That's pretty long.
Yeah, for a 16-month-old, that was
pretty
great.
long.
So we went to go see a really cool musical, and she loved it and danced the entire time. And I just remember even watching her see this, and I'm thinking to myself, man, she's now singing like what's possible too, because these people stepped into their calling. So how cool is it that you get to inspire people by doing what you do?
And I'm grateful. I mean, and it hasn't always been easy. I'm grateful for my training at the conservatory. I was one of 9 people to be accepted into my program at the time. And it was also challenging because I was the only Black person in my program to be accepted at that time. And what does that mean to be, to go from this environment where you are the majority, and you are celebrated, your Blackness, your artistry, all of that is celebrated, to being in, kind of more so the real world of, how this industry is and how the world works, where you are the only person who looks like you. You are learning the ins and outs of how this industry works, and, what it takes to show up as a Black person in the audition room, and what it takes to show up as a Black person in the workspace, in life. And it was a learning lesson. It was yet another chance for me to say, okay, how can I use this moment? How can I use these tools that I'm gaining at this incredible institution to continue to instill in younger artists and people who are interested in the entertainment industry that it's not impossible, even though it may look like that at points. It is not impossible. But these are the tools that have helped me matriculate, throughout this process. And here is what I want to pass on to you. You may use them exactly how I did, and you may use bits and pieces of what I give you. But I think that's the overall message that I want to continue. And I'm grateful now that I have a master's that I can have the opportunity to go back and teach and bring a new perspective on theater and musical theater with the tools that I've learned.
Absolutely. And I think the message to take from that also is, even if you are the only one, because a lot of times we are, as women and minorities, the only one in spaces, you can show up in full talent and deliver. So I think that's such a cool message that you're sharing, even through sharing that experience. Had you not gone and gotten your master's, you wouldn't even be able to tell that story. So again, timing and everything happening for a reason.
Absolutely.
So if you could give your top tier tip to somebody who's like going to school for theater or acting, what would it be?
My top tip would be hold nothing back. Hold nothing back. Okay. And I say that because it's not until you get into an uncomfortable space that you really start to flourish and you really start to learn more about yourself than you didn't. Like for me, for example, I placed myself in a box. I was like, okay, I am a Black actor. I need to show up, auditioning, of course, for the Black shows. And I don't see myself doing, anything other than that. But there's so much more to any artist, and especially Black artists. We have so much more to give and to offer, and there's so many perspectives that can be told when it's told from something that we haven't seen already. You can get a different message from saying one line and hearing it said all your life, but as soon as somebody comes in your life and says that same line, or you see it portrayed on the stage a different way, you're like, wow, it can hit you 5 years later differently, and you've seen the same show 5 times. So I think, that's my biggest thing. Hold nothing back. You are exactly enough. And what you bring to the table is incredible. So don't be afraid to share that. Always be willing to share. You have nothing to prove, but always be willing to share.
Yeah, I think that's excellent advice. And people need to hear that so that they can forge their own paths. I'm also curious to hear what's been the harshest criticism you have gotten, because I know being somebody who is musically talented, you dance, you have so many different crafts that you are capable of doing. So what's the harshest criticism? Have you ever gone to an audition and it just went awry? Yeah.
Well, I think, so much of this industry is, I'll speak for myself because I don't want to, create a general statement. So for me, my process, so much of how I view this industry is being judged. When you walk into an audition room, in my mind, I'm like, okay, what are they going to think about how I look? What are they going to think about the way I'm singing this or the way I'm saying this line? And these are, of course, things that we as Black people already have to think about just with waking up, being a Black person. How do I present myself today?
Yeah, how do I operate
based
today?
on where I'm going, you know? And so to add another, layer of that, of being an artist on top of that and already being critical, because as artists, we are critical about everything, including ourselves. And, that was something, getting in my own head was something that I really struggled with. And it wasn't until I understood that the power comes from within, and not to say anything off the wall, but you have to take that power away from the people behind the table. You have to walk into the room as a solution. You have to understand that when we behind the table, they are rooting for you. Right. Be the person that they are rooting for, instead of being everything in your mind that they are trying to pick apart. And it wasn't until that revelation for me happened that I was just like, okay, here it is. This is what it is. But it took a lot of, like I said before, unlearning. But that has been my process so far. But that's a good practice to have, a lot of criticism walk into the room as if they're already rooting for you. Yeah. Because I think it is easy to get in your head and start to create all these negative scenarios. Absolutely. And maybe you are the person who's supposed to be Dennis Edwards. Maybe you are the person that's supposed to, I don't know, bring a whole generation of people behind you like Otis Williams did. But you won't know that unless you keep going through these auditions and keep on trial and error. And it's not going to be easy. You're going to hear a lot of no's. That sounds cliche, but that's the truth. You're going to hear a lot of no's. I've heard a lot of no's. Probably will continue to hear a lot of no's. But, you have to take those no's as not yet. And that's something that my mom instilled in me at a very young age. Just because it's no does not mean it's not coming when it's supposed to. And when things happen the way they're supposed to, it becomes this full circle moment. And, that's what I'm learning right now on my journey.
What was your audition process like for Ain't Too Proud?
Tedious. Tedious. Oh my gosh. I auditioned for Ain't Too Proud a few times. Okay. The first time I auditioned for the Broadway company. And then the pandemic happened. Oh, wow. So it was like, well, there goes that. So that was very interesting. And then I auditioned a couple of times before. And there, because it's a dance heavy show and it won the Tony Award for Best Choreography. There's a lot of, care and importance and focus that you have to have when you're in these auditions, because the Temptations were all about details. When you look back on those videos, the outfits, the dance moves, the stage style, presentation, they were all about the details. And I think that's what this show captures so beautifully, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. But it was a very tedious process, and it also taught me a lot about myself, about things that I can work on, and also things that I did not know that I had inside of me. It brought so much out, it brought so much from inside of me. And I'm continuing to learn. And I think that's another life lesson that I'm learning right now too, is that it's the work isn't done. I've been, portraying Dennis Edwards for, a while now on tour, and every night I still have to find something new. There is something new that I'm learning, and I'm like, oh, wow. This scene is different because, this moment really happened. So what does Dennis want in this moment? What is he discovering in this moment? What are the Temptations going through? It's always a learning journey. So, And
to think that they did all of it without social media.
Oh my gosh.
It's the coolest part to me. Like, Like, I kept thinking that the entire play. I'm like, man, they did all this without social media. Like, what does that mean to you?
It
blows my mind.
It is mind blowing.
Yeah.
To this day. I mean, but it also shows the determination of a group of young men who, to them at the time, just wanted to sing, but they didn't know that they were being a part of something larger than life. And that's one of the lines in the show. It's larger than life, you know? It's crazy, you know, and spectacular. But I think it goes to show you how much this, you know, withstands the test of time. And the music, the dialogue, you know, these, what I love about Dominique, who wrote the book for the show, is, you know, she uses these words that actually came from Otis. These words that were spoken at the time, you know, when these situations happen, and you know, the language still stands the test of time. And so how does that, you know, it's mind blowing. It's crazy. It's crazy, you know, to be doing this without, you know, a single tweet, but still having so much impact in the world.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And it just goes to speak to, like, again, how stepping into your talent, if you just hone it and commit to it,
absolutely,
are like so much bigger than like you trying to just put things on social media. It's like actually do things in real life, and then those things will, if you build it, they'll come.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I think, you know, just segueing into, you know, using this modem that we have right now of media, I think what's so beautiful about it is that you can still, you know, tell these stories now in this digital age, you know, being able to come on this show and, you know, share my story. And one of the reasons is, you know, just people love to be a part of, you know, stories and you know, just be a part of
to
truth.
Feel connected.
And feel connected. And I think that's what's so beautiful, you know, about this story, is that when people come to see us perform, when people get to see the show, there's a sense of connection. You feel like you're literally taking this journey with them from start of the show to finish. And same with us, you know, as the actors, we literally take this journey. We ride, we go on this roller coaster with every single one of these temptations, every person, the Supremes, every person who was a part of their story, from start to finish of the show.
I think it was really cool to look at the audience, and the audience consisted of people from every generation and every demographic. So everybody's collecting these stories and connecting to these stories. So it's like we're all latching on to a little bit of history, and we're learning and we're celebrating and we're living through these performances. And I think that's the cool part about you guys being able to get up there and do your craft too. So you've performed with Mariah Carey and Keith Urban and India Ari and all of these incredible artists. So I have to ask you, what's been your fondest memory of these performances?
I was just having this conversation with one of my castmates the other day, watching how each artist goes on a journey when they perform. I think that's been the biggest takeaway for me as a person, as an artist. In particular, when I had the opportunity to perform with India Ari, watching how she created an experience for the audience. And it wasn't, you know, it wasn't this, you know, I don't know how to, it wasn't this, this concert to say, you know, this is me, these are all of my hits, you know. It was an experience. And she used the word songversation a lot in that set. And it really was, you know, it was a moment, even though, you know, I was, you know, standing behind her, you know, singing these songs with her. I think I was taught the beauty of sharing your truth. And I think that's what, you know, all of these artists have in common, is that they put so much of themselves into their music and really, you know, share it authentically with their audiences. And that's been the most, you know, most memorable takeaway for me, is to not hold anything back. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable and to share your truth, because, you know, it is an experience, and that, you know, that's what artistry is about. It's about sharing and going on the journey.
And man, have you been on a journey. You guys, he has also traveled the world on a cruise ship performing. So who would have thought? What year was that? Was that before the pandemic?
That was right after the bulk of the pandemic. So that was the end of the end of 2021 and 2022. Yeah. I was on the cruise ship for 11 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, did you love it? How was that?
It was an incredible experience.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up traveling a lot as a young kid, so to be able to see countries that I only seen in a map in classrooms, I was like, oh wait, so I'm like right here. I'm like pulling out my Google Maps, and I'm like, that's crazy. Like I'm looking at where I'm at in the world.
Yeah, your talent took you there.
Yeah, like it's crazy. It's crazy. But you know, there was something that my mom spoke over my life from a very early age, and she used to always tell me, your gift will make room for you. And that's exactly what it's, you know, continuing to do. And I'm just grateful. I'm continuing to grow as an artist, and as I continue to grow, it's allowing me to be in unthinkable places and being able to have unthinkable experiences. And being a featured singer on Royal Caribbean, it allowed me to perform not only, you know, as a national artist, but internationally. Like what an incredible thing to put on your resume. But meeting so many people from around the world.
You're literally globetrotting, and we keep on talking about full circle moments. And that's your full circle.
It's literally full circle. Yeah. Meeting so many people, and now I have, you know, friends who are from the UK, and now I have friends who are from Italy, and you know, it's crazy all over the world.
And when you're touring with Ain't Too Proud, are you stopping to like have a good time with family on the road and meeting some of these friends out on the road?
Yes. So first of all, shout out to Fisk University. They were able to, some of the students were able to come and see the performance, and just to have that energy in the audience, family and friends. And I know when I was in California, when the tour went to California, my mom was able to see it because she's out in LA, and my brothers and sisters were able to come and see it. So just to have that moment too is just like, I get to share this moment with my family and my friends, and you know, people who have helped me to get to where I am today, because this has not been a thing that I could have done by myself. Like I cannot take all of the credit. I can and will not take all of the credit. First and foremost, I'm grateful to God, and you know, secondly, grateful to my mom and my family who have sacrificed so much to even allow space for me to be able to do what I'm doing. But yeah, theater teachers and music teachers, and you know, this is not just Dwayne P. Mitchell going and doing this is a culmination of everyone who has poured into my life.
And I know they're all extremely proud, and it's full circle for them to be able to like come out on the road with you. I go out sometimes and meet my sister on the road, and I'm always like, I went to South by Southwest with her a couple weeks ago, and it was just really cool to like see her in her element, and it's just fun when you see somebody you know that's like living in their calling. So I heard you're a tumbling instructor, aerialist, dancer, multi-instrumentalist, you guys, piano and trombone. So how does one do all of these things? How are you this talented?
I think I come from a very musical family. So I think these are things that I just kind of like picked up along the way. I've always had an interest for music. Growing up in the church, that's how I really started, you know, singing. And then, you know, going to school, I had to be proficient in music. So learning how to play the piano proficiently, and, you know, picking up an instrument in high school, learning the trombone, and I was a part of the marching band, and, you know, doing all of these things that were surrounding, you know, music and performance, being always interested in that. I think these are just kind of tools that, you know, I've just carried with me along the way, and just using them, you know, as I continue to go on this journey called life.
For Broadway, for sure.
Absolutely.
Do you guys train with anybody on the road, or do you have vocal coaches or anything like that on the road?
Yeah, so we have a huge team, a part of Ain't Too Proud, and I think it you know, it varies based on, you know, what specific actor needs at what any given moment. We have vocal instructors, we have a music director, we have choreographers who travel all over the world, because they're also you know, doing other projects as well, who are just incredible people who are just amazing. And we also have dance captains on the road with us too. So there's not a time on this tour when you cannot perfect what you're doing. You know, always being a student, always being a teacher. And that's what's so beautiful about being on this tour with people who have, you know, an even longer resume than mine. Because you can always learn from someone, or, you know, something that's happening on this show. So yeah, it's
I
it's
feel
great.
like the show needs a reality show.
You know,
I just want to see, like, I just want to be a fly on the wall and to really see, like, how you guys train and prep for it.
You know what?
And then live and take care of yourself while you're on the road.
But you know what? I will say, if we did have a reality show, which I am not advocating for because it's just another thing on top of the busy schedule that most of the people have on tour. But I feel like most of the people don't understand how hard the crew works. Mm-hmm. It's easy to say, you know, the actors, we perform, you know, 8 times a week and sometimes twice a day. And it does, you know, require a lot to be on this tour. Mm-hmm. And it requires that much more of people that you don't see. Yeah. The people behind the scenes, the people who are making the set pieces move, the people who are, you know, making sure that we are able to sound good on the stage or being able to hear us in the audience,
or
you know.
Cleaning the costumes.
Or cleaning the costumes or, you know, traveling the things for us. And these are the people who don't get as much recognition. And it's like, you know, it's so much, it's another reminder that it's so much bigger than, you know, any one person or any, you know, group of people. It's a larger thing at play. So
I think he makes a great point there, that it's also important even when you're behind the scenes. The behind the scenes people matter. I mean, we talked about filming this show and how it took me a long time to find the behind the scenes people that were good, that the energy and the chemistry mixed so that we could like create a good product. So I think it's super cool that you acknowledge them too.
Yeah. It's a team effort. It's a team effort.
It's a team effort for sure. I still would advocate for a reality show. I just want to be backstage, like watching it all unfold.
Oh my gosh.
So I know we've talked a lot about like how important diversity is in all of these spaces and just inclusion, and also us showing up as Black people in the world and in our respective spaces. So how important is this to how does this correlate back to supporting HBCUs? Because I know that's like a huge subject matter. It's a huge discussion for the last few years. Yeah. I mean, Fisk just got their first gymnastics team within the past couple of years, and they're killing it.
Yes, and the first HBCU to do so.
Yes,
and you know, it's an incredible thing to know that I come from a greater family that has a history and a legacy that is so much bigger than anybody could imagine. And I think I will continue to, you know, do my very best to continue to use my platform to express and stress the importance of historically Black colleges and universities and the role that they have played since the beginning of their you know, creation. You know, when you think about these institutions that were created so that people like you and I could be able to do what we're doing right now. You know, in a world that we couldn't have done that anywhere else.
No, we couldn't. Yeah.
That's
my grandma went to TSU.
You know, that's a huge thing. That is a huge thing. And so, yeah.
It's so important. I mean, I went to University of Memphis, which is not an HBCU, but it's in a very diverse
It's
city.
in Memphis.
Yeah, it's in Memphis. Enough said. And I just like, I'm so grateful for that experience. Yes. I feel like University of Memphis is one of the most diverse schools in the United States. And I just, in the world for that matter. And so I definitely felt like right at home. There's something about being amidst your people.
Yes.
That just helps you feel like a sense of security and confidence.
Like you belong.
Yes, you belong there. So
a lot of my security in myself and as an artist was poured into me from being at Fisk University. Yeah. Because that was one of the first spaces that I was able to unapologetically celebrate all things Black. Yeah. In all of its entities. Yes. And I think that's so incredible. Like HBCUs give such a beautiful cultivating experience of what it means, of what Blackness is, and Black excellence, and oh my gosh,
and continuing legacy,
and continuing the weight of legacy that is passed down from generation and generation and generation to continue to uphold. So I am forever a son on the altar of Fisk University. So I'm grateful for that experience.
Absolutely. And I actually worked at Meharry Medical College.
Come on, Meharry.
For 4 years.
Literally right across the street. Right across the street from Fisk.
So I always say, while I didn't go to an HBCU for undergrad, I did work at one for 4 years.
You poured into one.
I have my honorary degree.
Yes, there you go.
So I poured into one. And to see all those students become dentists, doctors, and healthcare professionals is also like part of my pride and joy from working there is just,
absolutely,
putting all these beautiful Black people out into the world to do incredible things is like a highlight for me. Okay, I have one last question for you.
Uh-oh.
And we are wrapping this up. So what's your favorite Temptations song?
This is going to sound very biased.
Okay.
Only because this is the character that I play in the show. But Papa Was a Rolling Stone.
That is by far my favorite Temptations song.
I love that song. And the thing is, what's so funny about that is I would listen to this song as a kid. And at the time, I didn't know it was the Temptations.
Yeah.
But listening to how it was used in like different film and
so
television and commercials, I was like, okay.
Dun, 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 dun.
And then now learning, eventually learning that came from the Temptations and learning who, all of the Temptations were. And now being able to play Dennis Edwards. It sounds like a biased answer, but Papa Was a Rolling Stone has a place in my heart.
I think it has a place in a lot of hearts. The first 4 minutes is like a meditation because the music or the actual vocals don't start until 4 minutes.
Yes, it takes it a minute for you to hear the vocal.
Yeah, after the show the other night, I was in the car listening to it, and I was like, okay, like it's literally like a musical meditation for 4 minutes, and I think that's what drives.
And we all have done.
It.
If you don't know where that first verse starts, we all have done the thing where we're like, it was. It was the until you get to that 4 minute mark and then the vocal actually starts.
All right. Well, since you went there, I'm asking.
You'll have to come see.
Verse.
You'll have to come see the show.
Okay. He said you have to come see the show. You guys, the show is going to be touring for quite some time. I know through the rest of this year, but I just want to thank you so much for coming today to share your story, giving us the reality, even though he's not on the reality show, behind the scenes. And I hope this inspires any of you to hop into your creative careers and your talents and to go forth, commit to those, and make something happen out here.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been yet another thing that I can put along my journey that I got a chance to share my story. So
absolutely. To the top we go. Full
Here we
circle.
go. Let's do it. Full circle.
Let's go.
You never know. We may see each other again, accepting an Emmy.
Yes, an Emmy. You heard it right here first.